Was going through some of the saved books the other day and came across this one more time, the Anti-Masonic Almanac of 1831 for New England. I'm from Boston, so I enjoy things that have happened around here and enjoying learning about the history that all the people who shared this land that I currently live in have gone through. And so I found this very interesting because this puppy seemed to slip through, and it's one of the few anti-Masonic things, and I don't claim to know anything really about the Masons. I'm just kind of really going from these books, and I've met some Masons in real life and they've all been very nice. Everybody that I've happened to meet in my life has been very nice. I don't know whether I'm super blessed or my other belief that everybody is inherently good in this world, and just random forces of evil tend to try and make us think differently. I have no ill will towards anyone that's wronged or harmed me in the past. I'm over it, and I'm sure they are too. But there is a battle for good or evil out there, and the media and movies and a lot of entertainment, all these different regions of thought have really kind of poisoned the waters and are kind of gearing people towards a Satanist, atheist, anti-divine, anti-magical sense of reality, a depressing one, to be honest. And that battle has been going for a very long time. I certainly don't claim to know who's responsible for this ancient evil that's just really a part of our existence here in this experience. But whether it's the Freemasons, Illuminati, or the media, or whoever, some puppet master behind all of this, it's good for us all to find out, because I believe we are all inherently good people. And if someone is going down the path of evil, maybe they can steer in the right direction. I believe we all can. And so this almanac was here to expose Masonry for what it was and to kind of guide people that were maybe lost souls away from being sucked into this force that could end up taking their life. And so this is about Captain William Morgan, who was a very famous anti-Mason. Nothing to do with the rum captain, but so much better as a person. This guy was awesome. I encourage everybody to look into him because his story is very cool, and he apparently suffered a lot of the same trials and tribulations that a lot of us truth seekers and creatives end up going through. His businesses were just destroyed from time to time. He'd rise with something great in the town, and then someone would burn it down. He'd go move to another place. He would rise again in stature, build himself up from nothing, and the Freemasons would burn it down. So he inevitably made this anti-Freemason book that was getting a lot of popularity, and his speeches and his work as a captain and all this stuff in the Guard and the people he talked to were really enthralled by the things he was exposing, because he knew he had a lot of instances and run-ins with these people, and they were nasty to him. And so he really told people about the truth and exposed it, and they did not like that at all. He is quoted here as saying, "My best exertions have ever been devoted to my country and its free institutions. Man I have loved, and do love, and wish him unenthralled. My life is the property of my country, and my countrymen have a claim upon my utmost faculties for the preservation of all that is dear to intelligent freemen. The bane of our civil institutions is to be found in an order powerful and numerous, and becoming daily more so. It cankers and corrodes to the core the foundation on which justice is based, and is destined, unless timely checked, to become the leveler, not of proud distinctions, but of social order." There are many quotes which speak of the great character of Captain William Morgan, and he was an incredible patriot who loved his country. He did every single thing that he did for his country and for the future, so that these crimes wouldn't go unchecked indefinitely and become a force that nobody could end up controlling. He did this, and he knew he was going to pay with his life. His wife even refused to join any type of group associated with this, and they eventually captured him. They booked him on some charge, like some false charge for stealing or something. They captured him, and they basically made a ceremony out of his murder. They hid it from the public. There was no trial. They even denied him a Bible. He was refused everything. He was treated terribly, and they said over 1,000 men took part in it. So that was just really disgusting. And so people got wind of this, and word spread around, and people were fed up. They started mass protesting. Votes started changing. A lot more anti-Masons started running for office and trying to get into public offices. These are the heroines of Jericho, which were the female Masons, because they always wanted to get the wives involved in case they had to be compromised if something happened. It was important that they would remain silent too, and they always tried to get William Morgan's wife to be one of them, and she refused all the time, therefore giving her a voice in his death, and she was able to speak out against these atrocities that she knew. And even though she faced danger, she didn't care, because just like her husband, the truth was more important than you can imagine. It also says America discovered in 1498. That's kind of crazy. So word really began to spread, and the people began to do what they needed to do. And in 1830, the 6 largest counties in New York, through which the Morgan conspiracy extended, gave 12,000 votes majority for the anti-Masonic candidates for governor. When facts are known, the people do their duty. And that's what we're seeing nowadays, too. The facts are getting known, and people are going to do what's right when voting time comes. You may have heard George Washington was a famous Freemason, but he did not like that reputation, and they used that to try and bolster up support for their organization. So this book says that the father of his country in the latter part of his life became aroused to the dangers of secret societies, is universally acknowledged. He saw Masonry in France and Germany throw aside the veil that concealed its haggard features and wholly avow the detestable principles of atheism and the Illuminati. He saw the infamous Duke of Orleans at the head of the Masonic combination in France, carrying on the bloody work of the Revolution, whose successes were but the natural fruit of this poisonous tree. With these terrible scenes before his eyes, well might he warn his beloved countrymen in his farewell address against such great combinations. And he did. He warned a lot of people in letters and in his farewell address. So in this series of letters, George Washington's talking to a guy who wrote an anti-Freemason book and sent George a thing. And at first in the letters, he hasn't read the information yet. And then as time goes on, by letter 3, George has read all the books, and he says this: "It was not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati and principles of Jacobinism had not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more fully satisfied of the fact than I am. The idea I meant to convey was that I did not believe that the lodges of Freemasons in this country had, as societies, endeavored to propagate the diabolical tenets of the first or the pernicious principles of the latter, if they are susceptible of separation. That individuals of them may have done it, and that the founder or instrument employed to found the democratic societies in the United States may have these objects, and actually had a separation of the people from their government in view, is too evident to be questioned. My occupations are such that but little leisure is allowed me to read newspapers of any kind. The reading of letters and preparing of answers absorbs much of my time." George Washington. It's great to hear George Washington speak in this way and kind of denounce these societies. And I really wonder what the person George Washington was like. He seems like a great guy, but this is only a little glimpse of it. However, these things are still continuing, and this process has been going from then on, and it's really gotten more and more secretive and stronger and more technically advanced and technologically advanced over time. And it's really sad, but the people can always stick up and fight for what's right, and that's what it's all about. And so this almanac was really great. It talks a lot about eclipses, all the different weather, all different things that happened. At the top it shows all the signs of the Masons, so it kind of exposes them. It exposes a different kind of thing every month, basically, one of their styles, so you can either mock them or you can join in on them or you can kind of pretend to be a part of them. And it really kind of belittles it, while also telling some really important dates. And a lot of these dates and histories that they've got here are very interesting. I looked into a couple, and they just tell us stuff that I've never even imagined before. And it's interesting to see all the weather changes and different things, when snow came, how much snow came, how it was affected. With an almanac like this, you can really tell how similar the times were. And back in March 17th, I believe, this calendar, it says Boston evacuated 1776 for the season. So March 17th, 1776, Boston was evacuated for the season. And that's kind of the end of winter. It's starting to get a little warmer around Boston, so I need to really look into why that happened, because I've never ever heard of anything like that before. Was there a flood, a snowstorm, a hurricane, or something totally different? We don't know. But each one of these months has all these dates, all these important cool things, some little antidotes and quips, sometimes some recipes, and they show the signs at the top, which are very interesting. They like to expose different kinds of things and give people insight into this, because in the farmer regions, probably, these were very popular, and people always need almanacs to kind of tell what happened last year and what could be happening, and to also learn more about the world around them. And outside the city, where less people were falling for kind of Freemasonry, I think these were becoming more and more popular. And the cartoons were important. They loved to really kind of poke fun. Masonry beating down all the opposition, the free press, Masonry taking it down, very similar things, very symbolic references that still are relevant today. Masonry personified destroying the Constitution and people's rights, very similar to today. Grand priest and a grand king, and it just shows, they're not very flattering images of these people. The Gemini, the twins, that's their representation. These people had a great sense of humor. Liberty, Lady Liberty assailed by a roaring lion, claiming no secret societies. This battle was going for a long time, and these people are always expressing it with art. I love when people express the sentiments of what's happening in reality with art, because it can really show things that you can't get out any other way, and it always incorporates humor too. You can't wrong anyone for doing the art, and I love how they incorporate the astrology. There's so much. This is a very interesting almanac. I definitely would have gotten this back in the day, and it really just guides people just away from this path. It's kind of like a weird dark fraternity that you don't really want to join, because if you ever want to get out of it, you really can't. Once you're in it, you're in it, and these almanacs served as a warning. They had a lot of different things. Told about the eclipses, very in touch with nature. There were 2 eclipses a couple of years, a solar, a lunar, all different kinds of things. And this is great. It talks about the Masonic charity, because they always claim to be very charitable. And in this year, they only donated $35. But they pay a lot in booze, and they do a lot of other things that they don't speak about. $35 they donated. But there's so many things. I'd recommend you take a look at these. These are very interesting from back then. They spent a lot on partying and different fees to secretaries and rewards to merit the members, all different kinds of things. But they were really masquerading as a charity. And this shows the cabinet, the chorus. They sing songs about them, kind of poking fun at them again and their sense of brotherhood. And I don't really care. I don't have an opinion. They've never wronged me, but I'm just going by what this book shows, and it's very interesting. And there are the different walks, different symbols, different group signals, different ways to communicate, exposing all these different things that they wanted to keep secret, and the things that really keep their brotherhood alive and that only us know, the in the now stuff. This almanac was just putting out into the public in massive doses, and they were loving it. People really like this stuff, and they still do nowadays. If they didn't do any sinister things, there probably wouldn't be this much revolt against them. But here's a collection of other anti-Masonic books, which were featured by the Almanac, which shows a lot of cool stuff. But they also, here's a little recipe for onions. It tells what onions do, helping your bad breath or something. And here are the salaries of officers in Massachusetts. Now this is good to publicize this information because it keeps people in check, kind of. Although I'm from Massachusetts, and every year it seems like, or every couple of years it seems like these same people are voting themselves a raise. So here's how the salaries have changed over time. They don't even show the governors anymore because it's probably ludicrous. Not to mention the kickbacks, which are probably in the millions, because the stuff these people do and the taxes they receive and the things that they issue and just the corruption that occurs all over the place in Massachusetts and pretty much everywhere is just astronomical. And maybe the same people are behind it. I don't know. These people feed off of money, and is it really that important? I don't know. They go through a lot of dirty things to get it, and to get that power, and to be part of that inner clique, whatever this new inner circle of deal makers and movers have become. God knows, but they all have to face their judgment at some day, just like us, and I'd rather go in there happy and pure than to have to explain all these nasty decisions I made here on earth. I don't like that. Karma keeps me in check. I hope it keeps everybody in check, and that's the real point of all of this, is that everybody should be treated fairly. There should be no special treatment for anyone, no matter what your last name is, or how you grew up, or what school you went to, or who your parents are friends with. You do a crime, you need to pay for it, and that goes for everybody, and that's just the way it should be, and the leveling of that type of justice is really important. So I recommend you read some of these quotes. They show some cool insight into the Freemasonic kind of time of the past, and read this to yourself. I'm not reading this out loud, but this was also in the Almanac, and no thanks, but check it out. And truth really is one of the most important aspects of our lives. Like, you mess with the truth, you get people to start going on different paths towards hate and division and all this nasty stuff that comes with having a TV or a phone in this modern generation. So I recommend you get rid of those things and don't let them influence you. But the truth just takes a dump on the media here, and it's really true, because they can lie for so much, put all this money into their lies, but the truth always outweighs it, and it always has a way of showing itself and unveiling itself and spreading itself to the world. This is a We the People drawing I did, which shows the importance of the people to rise up and be the people that this country was designed for. It's important for everyone, especially these corrupt politicians, to know that they work for us, and we cannot tolerate these lies and this deception any longer. They should not be pulling us apart, they should be pulling us together. And every party, politics should be a force of bringing the people together and coming together with common goals to do what's right for everybody in the best possible way. And that's what needs to happen. And when the media and all of them kind of just get really deceptive about things and lead people down false paths that are depressing and hate-filled and just disgusting, then the people need to correct that. And that's what I hope we can all do with our truth-seeking selves, and keep it going. We got to be creative. We got to think of beautiful ways to do this, and I know we can. And here's a little political-ish cartoon I did about 3 years ago. It says, "Boy caught the media." Early this morning, while drudging through the national swamp, a young boy caught the media, and boy was he excited. For far too long, the media had poisoned the once pristine waters of the land. Those drinking from it could not fathom the high toxicity levels affecting nearly every aspect of their bodies, minds, and spirits. The toxic secretions known as lies created such frustration and confusion amongst the civilians that family and friends fought uselessly over mere fairy tales promoting fear and hate instead of love. With the media removed from daily life, the miracles of the universe and the joy of being alive in this present moment should become evident to the entire population of Earth. And I really believe this is the case. We are so much better than they make us think we are. It's time to get to the bottom of the truth, no matter who is behind it. So bless you all in your beautiful quest towards truth and peace. Have a great day.